Hi everyone, today we are going to talk about direct selection tool in Illustrator. Starting with selection tool and then moving on to the direct selection tool. So if you're new here and if you're new to designing, please keep on watching because we are going to cover these tools in depth today. So something similar to changing shapes, creating new shapes and even modifying the shapes. Let's get started. These are the topics that we are going to cover today in detail, so hang tight and follow along because there are going to be too many new shortcuts for you to help. Let's start by creating new document with the default information on the screen. Alright, so the first two things we are going to see are these two tools. So first is your selection tool and then we have the direct selection tool. Now both of these tools work well when we have a design element to apply it on. So I think we need to start by creating a new design element and then we can see how these tools work. I'm dragging the toolbar out so that you can see these tools perfectly. Right now I have the advanced toolbar on, but if you don't see this or you don't have any toolbar by default, go to Windows, Toolbars, and you can see both advanced and basic toolbar there. Either select your advanced one or the basic one if you want. So these two tools are at the very top of both of these toolbars, but if you don't see them, all you need to do is go to Windows, Toolbar, create a new toolbar and give it a name. Now you can simply select the tools from here and you will have both of these tools in your toolbar. We will cover toolbar in depth in the coming videos, but let's focus on the first two tools at the moment. So I'm docking it back on the left side. Now I'm going to create some basic shapes for you using our line tool, circle and a star tool. If you want, you can follow along, create these simple shapes and use the direct selection tool on these shapes so that you can modify them accordingly. If you want, you can pause the video and then keep on drawing these side by side. Now let's see how the selection tool and direct selection tool will work on these basic shapes. So notice what happens when I select the circle. The selection tool is grayed out on the toolbar panel. Similarly, if I go on to selecting any other shape, it would still stay selected because right now we have a design element selected on the artboard. Now I'm going to rearrange these shapes so they overlap each other. Let's say you simply want to select the circle out of this shape. All you need to do is select the circle and bring it out. Similarly, if you want the entire shape to move somewhere, just select it entirely and move it anywhere on the artboard. So that's how the selection tool works with these shapes. Now I'm going to separate them and apply direct selection tool so that we can modify these shapes into something better. So I'm going to zoom on the line for a little bit so that you can see how the direct selection tool is going to make changes to this line. Now the shortcuts to apply in order to select direct selection tool is the letter key A. You can also see which tool is selected at the bottom bar of Adobe Illustrator. Right now it says direct selection tool. Notice what happens when I select the letter key V. It says selection tool. Now let's go select back the direct selection tool and design our line element. In order to see the guides on this line, make sure that your smart guides are on. I'm going to let you know very soon how to turn them on. But notice what happens when I select one of the corners of this line tool. It definitely is modifying our line tool, but we cannot really see these changes. So go to View, click on Show Edges, and also make sure that your smart guides are on. So now they have turned into white corners. If I select one of them, you can just move it anywhere on the artboard and it will eventually change the shape of your line tool. Notice how. And if I select both of these corners, it's going to move the entire line. I'm going to create another shape. Now there are 3 anchor points on this line tool. Now I'm only selecting the first 2. And I'm moving it upward. It changes your entire shape, right? And that's what a direct selection tool does. Let's zoom out a little bit and I'm going to do the same thing on the star tool. You can select any of these anchor points on the star tool and make changes to whatever you like. Keep on watching and see how the star tool changes its shape when I select some anchor points and move them in different directions. A quick tip, you can also view corners in the control panel, and if you select any of these anchor points, you can apply this corner settings onto it so that your design elements get a little bit more curvy. But we are going to talk about control panels in depth in the coming videos, so stay tuned. You can move these anchor points in combination or you can select them individually to move the design any way you like. Now I'm trying to display how the entire star tool can be changed into altogether different shape that you might like, but definitely go ahead, practice your designs and see what all you can bring out from a single star tool. So coming to the circle, there are 4 anchor points. You can either select the anchor points or you can select the edges between those anchor points to make changes to your entire circle. Look how we change a circle into an altogether different design element that can be used as a logo or that can be used as an abstract design. Since we are only understanding the basics at the moment, don't worry about these anchor points, don't worry about the handles. We are going to cover them all in our coming videos. So stay tuned for more tutorials and subscribe if you liked the video up until now. Now moving on to something advanced, we are going to see how we can utilize these basic shapes and use the direct selection tools on them to create something more of a design. So stay tuned and keep on watching. Before that, I wanted to tell you that this can also be applied on a text element. Now when you write your text and you select the direct selection tool, there is only one anchor point that you can select and move the entire text across artboard. However, notice what happens when I create outlines and ungroup each of these elements. Now if we select the direct selection tool, all of these anchor points can be moved in whichever direction you want. So just to show you as an example, I'm moving them all upwards, but I think you get the point. So start by typing in your artboard and create a custom text of your own. Comment down below if you have any questions while working on it and I'll be happy to answer. Now we are going to see how we can apply direct selection tool on these basic shapes and create something more interesting. Let's start with the line tool. I'm going to duplicate this line. Now you can either rotate it with the rotate tool or we can select our direct selection tool, select one of the anchor points and move it upward or downward. I'm simply going to duplicate this line once again and rotate it in the opposite direction so that I get this cross sign. So you see, this is how we can create a very basic shape like a cross with just simple line tool and using the direct selection tool. Now let's see how we can modify the circle and star tool in the first basic shapes and use it into designing something a bit more different. Now to the second version of using these basic shapes, I'm going to duplicate the second design again and I'm going to duplicate and rotate the design so that I get something kind of a wheel shape. So with design sky is the limit, you can design anything, and now that you have your direct selection tool, make something out of this element, create it into something abstract, delete some lines, create some more lines, make it into a windmill or anything. Now let's see how we can utilize circle and star again and create a bit more advanced design from it. Alright, so these basic shapes look really great in the end result. Now let's see how we can utilize the direct selection tool and create something a bit more advanced. Now when I say that we can create something advanced from these basic shapes, that's the basic rule of design. All the new and all the great designs are built from the basic shape. On the screen, I'm also showing some shortcuts so you can use those while designing your designs. Now you can either create a fence, you can create tower, you can create lighthouses. There are multiple designs that you can just create by using a single line tool, a circle or a star tool. And these are only the 3 tools that I've taken for right now. There are multiple other basic shapes that we are going to cover in the later videos. So comment down below if you like this video and if you want to see something new around it. Now let's watch the video together and see how we can build something amazing out of just using a line tool and a circle tool. And after that, we are going to dig into the circle and star tools separately to create their own designs. So keep on watching. So there are plenty of other shapes that you can create by just using the direct selection tool and these basic shapes. Imagine what all you can do if you utilize all of these tools in the toolbar. We are going to cover each of these tools in depth in the coming videos. So comment down below if you want to see something specific and I'm going to create videos for them. Until then, let's recap what we learned today. So we can use direct selection tool on these simple line elements. We can change them into something basic or we can create the entire design element from the same. The basic key takeaways from this is the selection tool and direct selection tool, they work together on a design element. So you need to have a design element in place if you want to use them somewhere. So yeah, be creative, use direct selection tool, create multiple design elements, even if it's basic, that's absolutely fine. Tag me on your Instagram handles and I'm going to publish all of your work on my profile. Let's wrap this up with a few shortcuts that are going to be really helpful for you while designing. And don't worry, we are going to cover all of these shortcuts that I have used in the coming videos. So stay tuned. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section below and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.